A lot of times when you find an old hot rod, there is questions. Things will be missing. You'll kind of have to recreate what it was like in your head through clues the car will give you, because there'll be like remnants of gauges or a motor mount or something, and then you have to kind of figure out what it had and do your best to recreate that. This car is special because there's actually old pictures, and if we didn't have those pictures, we would be able to kind of deviate from the past a little bit. We'd put our own little spin on it just because we don't really know what it had anyway, and we're doing our best. Well, when you have the pictures, there's the blueprint. So we know exactly what we need to do. This car, we knew it had a 348. The motor mounts are still there, but we found another one. I found some an old chrome intake, old chrome valve covers, a bunch of stuff, the tri-power. It all is kind of the same stuff that it had.
Thank God. Oh, this thing is heavy. Oh my God.
It's a 348. Impalas had tri-powers. So 348s were common to have tri-powers. I just threw out my back. Old-timey chrome. I'm going to work on the intake and then get that going, and at the same time Chris and Davey are working on Mc Callen Roadster, getting it ready for the show. It's been an on and off project since we started. It's literally the first car we started to build, kind of got shelved for a little while. But now we're back on it, and the metal work, and it's coming along really well. It's going to be a great little hot rod. It's a 31 Roadster. We anti-sectioned it, so we added 2 inches to the bottom. And the way we made the sub rails, it's channeled 4 inches, but there's really more room than if it was a stock unchanneled car. So it's real roomy inside. Just tons of good metal work, all handmade brackets on the frame. Motor mounts. Connor has been doing some great, so has Dave. Both those guys have done great work on it. So the inside is looking great. All right, so this is my dad, obviously, and Bob Metzenheim, which is a very old friend of his. And him and his brother Joe are longtime Milwaukee area hot rodders. They're icons in this area. And a few months back, we were lucky enough to be able to kind of give Bob's 34 Ford a facelift. And it's been the same way since the 80s, and he kind of wanted to take it back to its roots of being the early hot rod that it was. So he had all these cool pictures, and we were trying to figure out if we should make it exactly like that, and to undo everything that's been done would be a major undertaking. So we decided to just kind of keep it simple, but give it the attitude and kind of style it had back in the day. So now he's been driving around for a few months, and everyone's like, where'd you find this old hot rod? When did you first get it?
August 1970. Knew this car existed at a place called the Avenue Brake Shop in Milwaukee. and sat in the back corner for a few years that my brother and I saw it sitting there. I went up there and they wanted my GTO, and I think I handed them $400 besides, and the coupe became mine.
At that point, it was pretty different, right?
Oh yeah, at that point, it
engine.
had like a 54, 55, full-blown chromed out caddy engine with a log 6.2 manifold on it. And back then it was hard to find parts for 54, 55 Cadillac engines, so it was like, hated to pull it out, but had to pull the engine out. But it was basically at that time used just for a show car. It needed a change. Like Bobby said, a car needed a change. It's been driven like that too many years, and now it's getting the looks that it deserves. I'm getting questioned about it. Before that, it was just like, oh, there's that guy again. But now it's like Bobby says, yeah, where did you find this? You know, who did this and who did that? And I'm glad I'm getting the recognition that I thought I was hoping I would get. So they did a good job, real good job. And I don't think it's ending yet. I'm going to have them probably do some more.
Just wanted to make it look like an old hot rod, you know, because it was a little dated the way it was, and everything worked really well. It just was time for a kind of a change. So we kind of tried to make choices that could have been done back in the day. So it's not really the way it was at all, but it's pretty neat.
I remember the car next door at the brake shop. They'd get it out probably once a year or so, and they'd drive it around the block, a small block right there, and it would be backfiring and popping and going, and they'd drive it back in, and that would be it for another year. And,
That's when it had the caddy in it still, right?
It had the caddy in it with the 6 carbs. Yeah. Awesome car.
I remember seeing it for the first time. I vividly remember it. It was at State Fair Park, and they had this show called Young American Wheels, and I was probably like 5. And I remember you and your brother Joe with his 27, and you guys were kind of parked. You were parked behind him, and I vividly remember the car, and that's just my first memory. But I was a little kid, so it's been around a long time. It was pretty cool that Bob stopped by today so we could see his car.
Cool. Well, thanks for bringing it by.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah.
I am excited because a couple months back, a friend of mine sent me this text message saying, holy shit, I just got this car, what do I do? And he wanted me to help him like promote it, or he didn't know what he should do, so he started asking me stuff about it. 31 Ford Roadster that was sealed into a basement in the 60s sometime. The old man died, so the son or the grandson was supposed to get it. The grandson wanted nothing to do with it, so they knocked down the wall, pulled the car out, put it on the internet for sale so the guy could buy a drift car. So it's kind of ironic that like this car got sold to buy a drift car so the guy could be more like Connor. This segment is called Be Like Connor. I'm in contact with him because he wants us to do some work on some frames. He's got several cars. He's a hot rod guy, but he's wheels and deals and antiques and stuff. So he texted me about working on the frame. I'm like, it'll be a deposit on that Roadster. And he's like, well, I've been thinking about selling it. So I immediately got my dad, and we went down and looked at it and saw it in his garage, and it was real cold and it was dark, but I made a deal for the car. So it'll be really the first time I see it in the daylight. Probably one of the few times it's been in the daylight in the last 50 years. And what the plan is we're going to take it to the Milwaukee Custom Car Show and display it at our booth with our frames and the other cars we bring in. Cool. I mean, it doesn't get any better than finding an old hot rod that was literally entombed in a basement.
Destination is on your right.
There it is, there it is, there it is.
Arrived.
How you feel? I'm really nervous. I'm pretty excited. I mean, look at it. It's so good. It's exactly as great as it was when I saw it the first time.
It's in really good shape. It has a flathead in it. It's got a 44 dash, 32 grill shell. It's channeled. Body is in amazing shape except for the back, where it was backed against the basement wall and the moisture rusted it out. So the little back panel where the taillights are is rusted out, but the rest of it's super solid. It's kind of taken apart, but not too bad. I think the motor will run. So the plan is to bring it to this show and, you know, just kind of let people enjoy seeing something like this, and then bring it back to the shop, and over the next, you know, couple months find all the right stuff that's missing and get it on the road. And I think I want to try to take it to the Lone Star Roundup. So that's what we're up to. We're getting a Roadster, the Roadster from the Crypt. I just want to thank Jordan for the opportunity.
Thanks, Jordan.
Do you have any of the info from the guy you got it from to try to get old pictures or anything?
I tried to get some. He said that he'd get back to me. I can locate his phone number.
That would be awesome.
I just got the story. He's the nephew of the supposed builder or last owner.
Yeah. And knocked down a wall to get it out.
It's been out for like 3 years, and it was in their garage, and the kid, the great nephew, got it, and he wanted a drift car, so he got rid of it.
Crazy.
Don't we all want one though?
Yeah, a drift car.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I'm buying.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Cool. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. So we'll be in touch. In the
Yeah,
next
for
couple
sure.
days. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, we got it. It's so awesome. It's like, it's as good as it gets. It really is. It's definitely crusty. One of the wheels is locked up. I mean, it sat in the basement for 50 years, so it'd just be, I can't really wait to start, like, oiling it. You know, like, it just needs oil and love and, like, just to be messed around with and just kind of figure out what it's going to take to make it run again. We're taking it to the car show, so hopefully we meet some guys who remember it or seen it before, or I don't know, we'll just see what happens. But you just don't get to see things like this every day. It's like true history. It's literally a time capsule. I mean, it's like a legit time capsule, and it didn't fill up with water or whatever like those other ones do. It's crazy. At the shop, I'm pretty lucky to be. We have a couple really great employees. I also have a lot of really great friends that help me out all the time. Davey is, he's in my band Bleed. We have known him since 6th grade. Been playing music with him since like junior year or senior year of high school. We've literally traveled everywhere together playing music, and we're best friends. He's a very, very meticulous craftsman. He's not your typical fabricator guy. He's more of a big picture guy. He's very well-rounded, good with mechanical, wiring, really good attention to detail. So it's really great to have him here. Plus he has good taste in music. Connor is a young guy
and he doesn't care about hot rods at all. All he cares about is his 240 drift car and all this weird stuff that I don't even know what it is. But he's turned me because he's exactly like the hot rodders back in the day. You know, back in 1960, this was a 25-year-old car, and they ripped the motor out, put a bigger motor in, and turned it into a race car. And Connor is doing the same exact thing. He's taking a 240 from the 90s and making this crazy roll cage and making a race car. So in my mind, import or not, that whole argument is just ridiculous because it's still young guys building fast cars. He's a very, very talented fabricator, really good sense, really amazing welder. He can do anything. Anything I give him to do or try, he excels way beyond I could ever imagine. Stu is another longtime friend. He helps us out in the office. He orders parts, makes sure we get everything on time. Some of the parts for this stuff are real hard to find, and he researches it. Stu's another, he's a great guy. And then little Chris isn't an official employee, but he is really a major part of this place because he's always down to help. He again is so smart. He's too smart for his own good sometimes, but his take on things it's very unique with someone his age. He's wise beyond his years in certain aspects. Other aspects, not so much. But he's awesome, and I love having him here. The headers are probably the most recognizable piece on the car that, you know, isn't a store-bought thing, so we're going to have to recreate those. The show is tomorrow, and we still don't have the headers. So I've got all the tubing, I got flanges. Hopefully we'll have them chromed like the picture, but for now we're just going to paint them. It should be relatively simple, but it'll be really cool because once the headers are done, it's kind of the stamp that makes the thing look like a real car again, and it'll look like that car. And so we're going to do our best to make the headers look the same. So basically, what I'm doing is I've made some patterns, and you know, of my cuts and my angles. I did some tests, and I'm just going to tack it together with the MIG welder. And I think what I'm going to do is gas weld all the seams because that's what it would have been done, you know, when they were originally built. So I'm trying to just kind of recreate what was there. It's you know, it kind of goes into this bigger tube, and then there'll be like a little flange on the end, and I think it's going to work out pretty good. But yeah, I just want to get everything tacked, and then I'll gas weld it. I might take some of it, but I'm gonna gas weld where you see it anyway, so it looks authentic. inside, you know, that's one of those places where we'll have to figure out what we're gonna do because we don't have a picture, but there's a bunch of holes for gauges, so we're gonna put old Stuart Warner ones in, fill that space. We're gonna find some old seats. It had sports car seats in it back in the day, so we're gonna find some old sports car seats. It had a roll bar, so we're gonna recreate the roll bar. But besides that, it's gonna be pretty much the same. In the pictures, there's a white vinyl top insert, so we're gonna recreate that as well. So I mean, once we put all that stuff, the rest of the car is really intact, and I mean, everything is there. So it's relatively simple. Connor's giving the rear end of the car underneath a once over. He's given many rear ends a once over. So here we are, we got it done. We're real close to being able to fire it, but there's just a few things that we're waiting on. We just figured it just needs to look like a car really for it to take it to the car show. But it's very, very close to the way it was. It's all together. I mean, it's pretty much the car it was when it was taken apart in the 60s. So it's crazy. The paint cleaned up, and if you look at the old pictures, a lot of the nicks and stuff that are in it are in those pictures. So it was kind of beat up a little bit, you know, before it was taken apart. It's really exciting. This car is it's something else because it's so cool to see, but it's really, you know, everyone talks about traditional hot rods and recreating the past. But everyone kind of builds the same car. They all follow the same rule book, you know. It got refined and people do that over and over. They run their dropped axle, their vintage engine, the 16-inch wheels, and an instant traditional looks cool. But there was lots of cars that didn't look like that. They're all these old hot rods. That's why I love Survivor so much, is they were all guys trying to solve problems and doing their own take on a different thing. And this car is, you know, it was a later car, probably started in the late 50s, and we definitely made it look how it looked in 1962. So this is very, very typical of an early 60s hot rod, and you just don't see that ever. I mean, there's so many things about it that I would just change if I was to build it now, or it wouldn't even look anything like it does. If someone came in and say, hey, build me a 60s style 33 sedan, it wouldn't look anything like this. But that's why this is so great, because this is so pure and it's exactly the way things were. So now we're pretty much ready to take it down to the show. It's going to be displayed next to the Roadster that we just got that was in the basement. So it'll be really awesome to see both cars together. It'll be awesome to see some of the old timers' reactions. Maybe we'll find some guy who raced it or remembers seeing it at cruising. It's a pretty cool car, and there wasn't a lot of hot rods like this back then, so I'm hoping that people just really enjoy seeing it.
We actually discussed this as soon as I was going to buy it. I wanted it exactly what it was when it went into storage back in the 60s. I wanted it to be 100, if possible, exactly like it was back in the day. I'm not going to change any paint, all the patina. The engine is supposed to, because it had a gold base to it, it had gold rims to it that they spray painted. We're going to have it exactly as it was back then when it got put into storage. Oh, it's going to get cruised back on Wisconsin Avenue, just like that photo. I can't wait to take my daughter and I. I'm just going to go back and just relive what it was like in the 60s. I haven't raced anybody for a pink kit, and I'd hate to lose this, but I have a feeling Bob's done a good enough job that I could take somebody for I hope it's not some POS either. Again, I got to meet the original. This is awesome. We were talking about the top and found out that it was what he did to the top to save the top and what we can do with it. How how the rims were reversed on everything and the welding that went into place with them. I hope he didn't beat my dad too badly in any races, or my uncle down there in any races back in the day.
It was a really great weekend. We got to talk to all sorts of people. People just flipped out over this Roadster. I still can't even believe it. It's like, it's not even real to me yet. But it was really great. We had the opportunity to introduce Cliff, who used to own the Red 33, to the new owner, Chris. And those two hit it off really well. And both of them, Cliff was just gleaming proud to see the car back together and here. And Chris was equally as proud. So that was great. The little bare metal Roadster got tons of attention. We sold a bunch of shirts. We sold one of our chassis. So it was a good weekend at the car show. Now next is to just take this thing back to the shop and digest it a little bit. Start oiling things and seeing how things work, and I don't know, try to fire it. Finally got to spend some time with it, and it's got some pretty really early parts on it that make it, the story is, you know, we're gonna have to see if we can find old pictures. The coolest part on it, as far as speed parts go, is it has an Edelbrock fuel log, and it's hand stamped, so it's a super early piece. The rest of it, it's pretty good, you know, like the way the dashes fit, the proportions, that everyone's freaking out. Even the windshield is like handmade. It's got Edmunds intake. The Fenton heads, I think, are pretty early ones. It's just a whole lot of awesome. So the plan is to try to, I don't even know if the motor turns over, but I want to try to get everything free and working, and do the least amount possible to make it safe to drive. I don't know. We'll see what the next tail of this thing. I'm definitely not going to lock it in a basement. I can promise that. And the red car is actually almost ready to fire. That thing should be running and driving this week. So that'll be good. Anyway, that's it for now. And yeah, we'll see you next time.